A gentle giant appeared off the coast just a short time ago. A whale shark, 10 meters long, harmless, protected, almost never seen here in Israel. Our lifeguards, our Coast Guard, and also the Navy opened a lane and escorted it south because that's what people who care about life do. We make room for what is rare, and we protect it. Then, while the shark crossed into the Gaza waters, crowds gathered. Fishermen knew that it was rare, and they killed it. Cut it up, sold it, ate it. Footage flooded the networks. This isn't really a story about a fish. It's a mirror. It shows how, under Hamas control, hunger is weaponized, cruelty is normalized, and it reflects how this terrorist organization is operating on the ground. And if that's the ethic, you begin to understand how the same system could carry out the October 7 attacks and how it can sign a ceasefire with one hand and then violate it with another. If you believe that the truth should travel and more people should know what's happening on the ground, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to subscribe to TBN Israel YouTube channel. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is My State, a program about current events, my belief in God, and my journey in the Holy Land. Good morning to all of you, and today is going to be a very, very exciting day. And I'm about to start the day by driving around 3 hours to get to the borders between Gaza and Israel. We're going to go to the beach of Zikim. Up until a few weeks ago, it was unsafe for the Israeli public to go. As I'm looking into the Gaza side, into the Palestinian side of the border where Hamas is controlling, I know that there are no Israeli hostages, no living hostages that are kept in tunnels, in dungeons underneath the cities of Gaza. That's just an amazing miracle. And it's proof that God listens to prayers and He's fulfilling amazing, amazing miracles in modern days. Let's go have some breakfast at the David Harp Hotel. If Tomer was here, he would say, nah, you can't go have breakfast without working out a little bit. So maybe let's start the day with a little bit of weights. I wanted to share that it's nice to see some tourists from the United States of America here in the hotel in the north of Israel. Now is the time to visit this land because Israel defeated all of our enemies. We have a ceasefire with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The IDF has never been stronger. But in the meantime, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to TBN Israel YouTube channel. So I'm getting closer to the Gaza border, and getting back to Gaza is always very emotional for me because I spent the majority of my time in this war there. The challenge is to make sure that they don't rebuild and become the governing power in Gaza once more. Today we're in Zikim. This beach was closed from October 7th until just now. 2 years ago, terrorists came from the sea. 18 were murdered here. Families were shattered. When you stand on this sand, you feel what was lost and what must be defended so that families can come back to these waters without fear. So just a quick pause, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so that this video will reach more people around the world. Now back to the main story. Remember what happened the moment that the ceasefire began? As soon as Israeli forces pulled back to designated lines and the guns fell mostly silent, Hamas rushed not to care for civilians, but to reassert its control in the Gaza Strip. Masked gunmen poured into neighborhoods in Gaza. Pickup trucks with loudspeakers, list of names, public beatings, and street executions of suspected collaborators with Israel. And I'm talking about Palestinians. Men dragged from homes, others snatched from aid lines. Crowds forced to watch as warnings were turned into body language that only Hamas uses. We saw it on our screens and heard it from Gazans on their phones. If you criticize Hamas, your interview gets cut. If you try to keep the aid for your family or yourself, instead of for the brigade of Hamas, you're punished. If you ask, where are the tunnels underneath my street, you disappear. This is not governments. This is terror turned inwards against Palestinians. Why does that matter for the ceasefire? Because any deal that leaves Hamas armed leaves Gazans unfree. And unfree people cannot produce real peace. The first days of so-called calm made that truth impossible to ignore. Then came the breaches. In Rafah, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, a team of terrorists emerged from a tunnel and fired an anti-tank round at an IDF engineering vehicle. We lost Major Yaniv Kola and Staff Sergeant Itai Yabetz. May their memory be blessed. In Sajaiya, armed men crossed the yellow line towards our forces and were stopped. In Khan Yunis and also in Nusirat, after repeated probes, the Israeli Air Force struck cells of Hamas terrorists at a major underground site, and then, by a cabinet direction, Israel returned to enforcing the ceasefire terms. Humanitarian convoys paused during the strikes were resumed later. And right on cue, Hamas claimed that it had located a fallen hostage and would hand him over if conditions will allow it. They know exactly how to pull on the nation's heart. I'm really excited to share this with all of you. Arza has launched their brand new Hope Box, or Tikva in Hebrew, and is their most beautiful box yet. And with the release of the living hostages and, please God, the rest soon, this theme of hope couldn't come at a more powerful time for you to join. Every single item on your Arza box is handmade by local Israeli artisans and small business owners and family businesses. So with your purchase, you're directly blessing and supporting the people of Israel while bringing the land of the Bible, where Jesus walked, right into your home. Inside, there's gorgeous hope necklaces with the Star of David and the map of Israel, delicious foods and spices, and an amazing ceramic dish made by a group on the Gaza border that employs youth with disabilities. They're only selling this box for 5 more days, and it's almost sold out. Plus, they just increased our discount. You'll get 15% off with the code TBNIL15. So if you want to get something from the beautiful land of Israel, and you love this country, or you know someone who does, this is the perfect way to experience and to share the beauty and the hope of the Holy Land. Go to arzabox.com/TBNIL and get yours today. Again, that's arzabox.com/TBNIL and get yours today. Make sure to use the code TBNIL15 for an extra 15% off your subscription. Here's what this week taught us. A ceasefire exists only where it is enforced. Otherwise, it becomes a corridor for ambushes, not a path for peace. Hamas's method is very simple. Probe, deny, repeat, send unmarked men, sometimes low-level operatives, and sometimes coerced civilians towards the IDF positions to test our rules of engagement. If we hold fire, a sniper or an RPG of the Hamas terrorist organization will look for an opportunity to use it against us. If we act, they shout, "Civilian!" and then try to blame us. Meanwhile, they try to buy time for a hudna, which is a long pause for the purpose of rearming. So what they do is they place small arms in homes, IEDs in alleys. They also use the tunnels and their openings in the houses to prepare for another attack. So their long-range rockets were hit very hard, but what they have is the guerrilla kit and skills that still remains. we finish the line the IDF needs to prepare on the yellow line. The yellow line must be clear, marked, and monitored with sensors, with thermal, with drones overhead, and every platoon drilled every day on routines that might happen. So armed personnel beyond the line are an immediate threat. Unknown approachers get warnings and then a precise stop if needed. Clarity saves lives, ours and also theirs. Second, we hunt what hunts us. Systematically map the collapse, the tunnels inside our belt. All the tunnels that still exist in the Israeli side must be destroyed using robots and microcharges. We need to keep persistent eyes. Quadrotroppers and drones need to be in the skies at all times so that every sniper or RPG team will know that minutes after a probe, the sky will answer and eliminate them. And third, every breach has a price. Not a symbolic strike, a meaningful one. A weapon site, a command cell, a tunnel junction that actually matters to Hamas's network. At the same time, keep humanitarian aid predictable to civilians and unpredictable to the Hamas terrorists. It pauses when they fired and then resumed when the area is safe. That's how that you protect the innocents without rewarding the violators, the terrorists of Hamas. And fourth, we coordinate without outscoring. American envoys were here. J.D. Vance, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and the United States pressed for calm. Israel can cooperate on monitoring and verification, but never surrender the right to act when lives are at risk. Cooperation is welcomed. Permission is not required. And fifth, about Turkey and Qatar, their leverage helped push Hamas to move. But leverage cuts both ways. Ankara and Doha will try to water down the demilitarization process of Gaza, to rebuild a political wing, to turn verification into paper wall. Our red lines must be public and simple. No laundering for the terrorist army. Weapons resumed block by block with penalties for non-compliance. And if monitors fail, Israel will act by itself with boots on the ground. Friends are friends. Our security remains ours. And my view is this: the whale shark is a parable. On our side of this fence, we escorted it. We helped him stay alive. Under Hamas, something rare was carved and sold. The question before us is whether we will let that ethic define our borders. We shouldn't. We can be both unwavering and also humane, protect our soldiers, bring every hostage home, living and fallen, strike when we must, and open beaches like Zikim behind me, because the security is real and not rhetorical. In the coming days, measures success in a simple way. Fewer tests across the yellow line by Hamas terrorists against our forces. More tunnels that are mapped and then destroyed. Envoys trying to bring aid verify that the aid actually reaches the civilians. Families on this beach again because the threat is pushed back, not just appealed to. Before we close, a word about the megaphone. Al Jazeera. Documents seized in Gaza and a new study by the Meir Amit Intelligence and Terrorism Information Center showed that Hamas didn't just hope that Al Jazeera would echo its line. It actually directed it. Editors and correspondents received detailed guidance on wording and on framing, including a 2022 directive after a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket killed civilians in Jabalia, not to use the word massacre and to stress that this was not caused by Israeli strikes. In 2025, Hamas even set up a secure Al Jazeera phone, a direct encrypted line between its emergency operations room and the channels in Doha headquarters, so that it could coordinate in real time what to air, what to hide, and which terms to use. The files also lists Gaza-based Al Jazeera journalists who doubled as Hamas military operatives, names like Anas El-Sharif, Ismail Abu Ammar, Talal El-Arouki, Hussam Sabat, and Abdallah El-Jamal. On air, when wounded Gazans tried to criticize Hamas for hiding amongst the civilians, or when guests criticized Qatar or Turkey, interviews were cut off mid-sentence. Even under the ceasefire, Al Jazeera often enjoys exclusive field access at handover points for hostages and fallen's remains, maximizing Hamas's narrative while barely showing Israeli homecomings, the celebrations, and the reunification with the families of Israel. Through Arabic broadcasts and English language packaging, that messaging travels to the West, to Europe, to the United States, amplified in Muslim and Arab-speaking countries, and then ricochet back into the mainstream debate. This is why Qatar's role is risky. Doha can play a mediator by day when its flagship network, Al Jazeera, carries Hamas's psychological warfare by night. That quality lets Hamas keep a loud global voice in negotiations, shape the pressure campaign on Israel, and soften the demands for real disarmament of Hamas. If there is to be any technocratic regime that will replace Hamas, it must include the information front. No outlet with direct coordination lines to combatants, terrorists, get exclusive access. Foreign media credentials hinge on a verifiable non-collaboration pledge, and key facts are published immediately in Arabic, in English, and in Hebrew, so that propaganda cannot fill these gaps. So if you really care about the people of Israel and the people of the Gaza Strip, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because nobody is talking about the situation inside Gaza, not far from here. But remember, this is a spiritual war. And how do we fight a spiritual war? We pray. So let's unite in prayer for wisdom to our leaders. Let's unite in prayer for better leadership to the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Let's unite in prayer for the IDF soldiers that are still on positions inside Gaza, protecting all of us so that we can enjoy this amazing beach here in Zikim, just hundreds of meters away from the Gaza Strip. Let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.